All right, Chelsea fans, we got a brand new video breaking down Gallagher leaving, Samu potentially coming in, Osimhen update, and Conference League draws. Check it out. All right, Chelsea fans, let's go ahead and jump into the heartbreak news of the day. Fabrizio Romano saying exclusively that Conor Gallagher has verbally agreed to join Atletico Madrid after all, which is absolutely frustrating. For someone who was the de facto captain while Reece James and Ben Chilwell were out with injuries last season, a guy who started 37 matches in the Premier League and played almost all the minutes, right? Started all 37 of those. This is the player the club have decided to sell. And I think we know why. I think there's a lot of, at this point, understanding why things are happening the way they are, why Trevo and Connor are on the chopping block or sales list, however you want to put it, for the sporting directors this summer. And so what that means is that he apparently has agreed verbally to terms with Atletico Madrid. Remember, they wanted a weekend deadline. Looks like they just missed it, but are willing to accept the yes. 40 million euros to Chelsea. And he allegedly turned down 2 English teams, right? It pretty much made sense that at the end of the day, it was either 1, sign an extension and stay at Chelsea, 2, run down the contract, which the sporting directors were not going to allow to happen, or 3, find a new home, which he was always going to go abroad. No interest of staying in England and playing against Chelsea at this point in his career. Conor Gallagher is coming off the Euros. He's coming off his best season yet. And this is the player we're looking heading into next season to releasing, right? Again, I get the whole 40 million straight profit, all of that kind of stuff, right? But when you look at it, it's unverified, but we're thinking roughly 50,000 pounds per week, or only 2.6 million. That puts him in the bottom, 10 of the club, right? Like the lowest earners of people who actually played, you can put George Petrovic and Renato Vega at 25,000 a week. He's double that. Trevo Chalobah is also at 50,000 a week. Flip up, Mudryk 100,000. Malang Sarr was at 120,000. Tosin Adarabioyo 120,000. Cucurella 175,000. Ben Chilwell 200. Raheem Sterling 325. He wasn't a big earner. So it wasn't like that was pushing him out. If you look at the book value, he only has 2.6 million left because he only had 1 year left. So on the books, just under 3.1 million euros a year. That means 36.9 million of the 40 million is going to be on the books as profit for this fiscal year, right? Because we're past July 1st. 36.9 million profit. They're looking to send Trevo. That's another, he's got 12 million left on the books. So if he goes for 25, it's only going to be 12 and a half on the books. Now, all of a sudden, they've just generated just shy of 50 million this summer in 2 players. So again, no secret why we're looking at doing what we're doing. Still super frustrating to me when you make up when you look at the makeup of the team. Connor bled Chelsea, been there since he was a kid, came up through the academy, won everything at the academy, has gone on loan, has done the championship, has gone to the lower level Premier League. He's worked his way up season after season. And to be a measly 4 years old, and to be at this point of his career, Chelsea are letting him go. And you look at FB Ref, the similar players, it's all top 5 European leagues, right? Bruno Guimaraes, Yusuf Fofana. You've got Curtis Jones from Liverpool if you want a more localized comparison. Joel Linton, Zaire Emery, Federico Valverde, Declan Rice. Like, you can't go buy these players for less than what you're giving up, which is what I don't get. And when you look at the makeup of the squad, you had Enzo playing essentially in a 10 spot with Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia behind him. That is not where Enzo's at his best. And then you look at the bench and you've got Leslie Ogochukwu. Is he going to be here next season? Probably not, because he needs a loan because he's 19. If you keep looking at the bench, Chukwuemeka has played center mid. I don't see the extreme depth in this position, especially with the injury issues we've had. So then I go to the Chelsea FC website. All right, who is listed as a midfielder? Enzo Fernandez, coming off injury. Lezu Gachuko, 19, needs minutes, needs to go on loan. Carney Chukwuemeka, unknown, especially as a midfielder. Probably more of an attacker. Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Okay, yeah, he's definitely in that center mid role. And again, coming from Leicester with Enzo Maresca, he's going to play. I've gone on record. Conor Gallagher, Moises Caicedo, Cassidy, Kellyman, those are your midfielders. Kellyman, you're not going to expect much. Cassidy, definitely going on loan, if not sold in a deal. Caicedo is going to play. Dewsbury Hall, bench player. Now you're essentially sitting with Enzo Fernandez, Lavia, Caicedo, Dewsbury Hall. So you got 4 players, because I'm not going to count Chukwuemeka in there at that point. If one thing goes wrong, now all of a sudden you're in a situation with Conference League. It is not the game I'm playing. So here's my final point on Conor, Trevo, and the sporting directors. I've said this before, and I'm sticking to it. I don't think the sporting directors want anybody that they have not directly recruited in this team, so they can take 100% credit for who is on this roster, especially because they're not being held to account for the results right now. Neil Bath is gone. His leadership team is gone. This is now de facto a different club than we've ever seen before in the last 10 to 15 years. So a lot of pressure needs to be riding on these sporting directors if they're the ones making these calls and spending this money, because last season was not good enough. The season before is not good enough. And if they're going to continue to sell proven academy-grown players in pursuit of profit so they can just go and sell and buy the new players that they want, you better find results, because you're disconnecting the fabric of the club at the expense of you and your vanity project. And I am not a fan. So results are the only thing this season that is going to repair the relationship between the fans and the club. And preseason is not off to a good start. So we'll see. All right, moving in. So now that Conor is most likely going to Atletico Madrid, that means that Atleti are open to accept a proposal from Chelsea for Samu Omorodion worth around £35 million. So this is also coming from Fabrizio Romano. They said that his camp is discussing contract terms with Chelsea. Atleti will only give the green light to Samu when they get Julian Alvarez deal done. So that is all the moving pieces right now, is that they want Julian Alvarez to replace him. Then they'll let him go. We'll see how this all shakes out, right? It's a little bit of a 3-player shuffle at this point. And again, this makes sense. This fits the profile, right, of exactly what the sporting directors are looking for. This is about as obvious as you would imagine for this team. So Samu Omorodion is forward. He's 20 years old. Does that surprise you? Because it shouldn't. Again, in La Liga last season, he played 34 times for Alaves, 34 matches played, 21 starts, 1,900 minutes. And then when it was with Granada, only the 1 match and the 1 start for 80 minutes. 20 years old. So then you have to wonder, okay, how good or proven is this one-season player, right? We love the one-season player, these sporting directors. So Dimitri on X, Chicago Dimitri says, here's what I like about him, Samu, from a data standpoint. I'm going to be upfront and say I've never seen a second of him actually playing. A lot of what I like is actually in his finishing dashboard. So he's got this dashboard lit up here with his minutes as a striker, his shot distribution, and kind of the conversion and what he had. So he had 8 goals, 3 from his right foot, 2 from his left foot, 3 headed goals. Very much can clearly score in a lot of different ways, right? 64 shots in 1994 minutes is just under 3 shots per game. Doesn't sound like a lot, but again, it puts him in the top half of La Liga. He's getting a variety of shots off, 36 of them with his right foot, 10 with his left, 18 with his headed. So again, he can finish or put an attempt on goal depending on wherever the situation lands. So look, CFC Central is going to be doing an in-depth review, so go check that out. We'll make sure to get that up on the pods as well as probably in his newsletter, so make sure you're subscribed. Links in the description. So this would be the new striker to come in and fill a gap that the team obviously has. Again, are we going to rely on a 20-year-old who's played a season of La Liga to come in and fix this? Well, if Nico Jackson can do it in a half season and progress the way he did this past season, clearly they feel like they have a template to work off of. So obviously there's a lot more that goes into this outside of just a player having one good season in La Liga, being able to come to the Premier League and be successful. But we'll figure it out. This one seems to be for 35 million. Again, a low risk compared to the next player who we think we might be linked with, which is Victor Osimhen. So Fabrizio Romano saying no changes so far on the deal with Chelsea. Chelsea are to explore talks with Napoli because Napoli want Lukaku, and Osimhen will not reduce his salary, and he's not open to straight loan with an option to buy. So that means he wants a permanent deal done from the beginning. He's expected to leave Napoli, but nothing concrete has moved the needle. So from earlier last week, Napoli said they were open to involving Victor in the Chelsea talks. The player, again, doesn't want the loan, and he's not going to cut his salary. So what in the world is his salary? Let's go to Capology and figure it out, because it is not going to be cheap. Weekly, £207,000. Annually, that is with bonus, just under 13 million. Yep. So not going to be cheap at all. I believe that would make him Chelsea's highest earner. Let me go back and double check that real quick. No, Raheem Sterling actually be the highest earner. He'd be on par with Reece James, just to give you comparison. So if Lukaku leaves and he's on 325,000 a week with 16.9 million annually, you bring in Osimhen for 250,000 a week and 13 annually, I guess you would say that's probably a good deal. Especially anything involving Lukaku leaving right now is a good deal. Now, he didn't have as good of a season last season, the one before. High potential. Feel like the excitement's kind of cooled on him. I don't know, after the club immediately went big on Lukaku, if they're going to feel like that's just too much risk, especially when they're pulling all these sub-23 players, right? I mean, we essentially have an Olympics team for those of you watching this summer. And he doesn't fit that bill potentially. Overall proven, great frame, great ability. He's 25, so it's not like he's 29 here. It's I don't know. I don't know if they're going to take the risk. I would love to see it, right? Last season, 25 matches, 15 goals, 3 assists. I mean, 18 total. That would be amongst our top players. The season before was his big one, where he had 26 goals and 4 assists in Serie A. So again, not as good of a season, right? Just over half the production the season before, but between AFCON, I believe he had an injury. Like, you know, he had some things going on. We'll see. And Napoli were obviously nowhere near what they used to be. Antonio Conte coming in with that team. So Osimhen seems like there's a chance. I don't think any real fan or sport out there is going to care, because it's not our money. We just want to win. Osimhen, I would say, based on the squad we have today, we are better off with him in it. So last story we have is the update to Chelsea's Conference League draw. We will play Braga from Portugal or Servette from Switzerland in the UEFA Conference League playoffs. It'll be a two-legged tie to be played on the 22nd at Stamford Bridge and the 29th away at August. So again, we are just waiting for that result. And we still have to qualify. And if you have looked at the Conference League qualifying, it has been going on for over a month now. And it is insanely huge. The amount of teams that enter this qualification process versus end is wild. Thankfully, Chelsea don't start their qualification process until the very end of August. And I believe it's win and we are in. So two-legged draw right at the beginning of the season. Pile on the matches. There's no sense in waiting. We might as well get into it. So anyways, that's going to wrap us up. A lot of Chelsea news is coming in. The Conor Gallagher news, devastating for most of us. If you balance it out with Samu and potentially Osimhen coming in, does that make it better? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. I'm completely torn up about this Conor Gallagher thing. I just do not see it. But if I'm missing the point, let me know in the comments, right? Anyways, until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.